What's up, people? It's your boy Perfection back again with another video. Okay, so I was watching the Olympics today, and it wasn't a full Olympics. It was I think it's British. Britain had control of the Olympics in 2012, and they were talking about they had controlled the Olympics in 2012, and basically this program on British TV was just talking about what they how they kind of put it together, the opening ceremony. Okay, and I remember it brought me back to when 2012 Olympics came to Britain, to London, um, and I was watching it for the first time, and there was a lot of euphoria. There was proud to have the Olympics here in this country, and there were certain structures that they had. Like one of them was a boat, the Windrush boat, and then they had black people come out with suitcases dressed in costumes of that or clothes of that era to represent the Windrush when Jamaicans first came off the boat. Well, just Jamaicans, people from the Caribbean islands or things like that. And then they went through, certain structures that they'd put up, and I remember the Queen jumping out of a plane, or supposedly the Queen jumping out of a plane, had this James Bond theme. But both basically, it brought back a lot of kind of. I know they were talking about good things about this country, and how they incorporated it into the Olympics. And it did. It made me feel good. I was like, that good feeling came back. But even whilst they had the Windrush, for example, coming out, and people, representing the Windrush project, Britain was still quite racist then, and it's still quite racist now, and that's what this video is about. I think my previous videos that I've done, about the previous 7, have been on a lot of black topics and things like that, and I have highlighted some really kind of harsh stuff. I've highlighted racism, white supremacy, white privilege, and all those kind of things, and I think that I may have come across as being negative by doing these things, and I also may have kind of dampened the spirit of some people out there. Some people out there I may have even, in a sense, strengthened their argument and made them kind of feel like, there's no point in trying and things like that. They might as well give up, and, nothing will ever come out of them working hard and things like that. And that's not the case, because if we go back to my previous videos, I've always said to people, don't education out, for example. I said to people that, don't sell out education out. Don't be out there doing silly things and poisoning your own community and all that kind of stuff, or out there violent and angry. Go to school, work hard, and keep fighting for it. And that's what this is about. This video here is about, dream big, live big, and keep fighting. Just keep fighting. Don't give up. Yes, I have highlighted racism. I have highlighted a lot of struggles that black people go through, and how there's change that I believe that are pulling us back. But you can be whatever you want to be. Live big, dream big, because it is possible. I never forget watching. This is coming into the whole fight thing, where I'm coming from with it. It's a fight. When we first, life in itself is a miracle. It is a miracle, because you know when someone's making, when our parents made love or whatever, our fathers, you know put sperm into, um, our father put sperm into, our mothers or whatever, and there's something like between 400 million to a billion, 1.5 billion sperm cells, and they're all swimming and they're all fighting at a chance to get into the uterus, and some of them get killed off, some of them don't make it. So life in itself is a miracle. That's the point I'm making, is that life in itself, even starting off as sperm, is a miracle, because that one sperm out of the 1.5 billion is me and you sitting down here today. And I don't think people will actually appreciate the kind of magnitude of that us even being here, getting into this world, is a miracle. That's why it's quite surprising how some people, it shocks me sometimes how some people throw life away or commit suicide or things like that. Now I do not understand about mental health, so I understand why some people can do those things, but some people come into this world able-bodied, quite handsome, quite beautiful, attractive, and unfortunately they're broken or something's happened to break them to the point where they want to throw that life away, but they don't realize that it was a struggle to be here in the first place. While other people are in wheelchairs or maybe blind or deaf, but still continue to kind of find a purpose and continue to fight, really. One thing, I was watching wildlife, and I never forget that there were these herd of deers, and they were migrating from one part, I can't remember what country it was, but they were migrating from one part of the country to another, and one of these deers was pregnant, and I never forget that as she was about to give birth to her younger deer, whatever name you'd use to describe it, there was this kind of like, it was either a lion or a tiger or something like that that was watching them as they were going past these bushes, and then it suddenly jumped out to try and attack the herd. This pregnant deer now was startled, and she's running, and as she's running, she's still giving birth to the younger deer. As the younger deer drops out, it suddenly drops out of the womb, and then for somehow it realizes what's going on and immediately starts running. So this deer has literally spent like 2 seconds into the world where it's dropped out its mum's womb, and then instantly it's kind of got on its feet and continued running. And it was just crazy, it just highlighted how life is precious. We have and how we have to continuously fight for what we want, whether we're white, black, Chinese, whatever. We have to continue, we have to continuously fight. I think what's so sad about it, really, knowing about the whole sperm thing and about how we kind of fight to get into this world, it just amazes me how some people believe that they can take out an entire race. You've got idiots today that believe that they can walk into a church, and by blowing up the whole church, they're going to somehow take out an entire another race. The stupid ideology that they have, they don't realize that it's impossible to strictly have one race due to the climate. Obviously, if you're in a colder part if you're in a colder continent or country, you're more likely to be lighter skinned. Just like if I went back to Jamaica, my skin would be slightly darker. So even though people could say, that, even though I'd still be black, my skin would be darker than another person that was black. And that would probably still cause an issue. And with white people, it would probably still be the same way. If they were from, Iceland or whatever, compared to someone in South Africa, there's going to be a slight difference in skin tone. And that would still cause. So if racism is about color, there's no way of defeating it. You're walking into a church with bombs attached, you're hoping to blow up the whole church or somehow defeat black people or whatever. It's silliness, because it's always going to be there. You can't eradicate it in one way or another. Okay, Hitler only wanted a race with, what is it, blonde hair, blue eyes. So and that's a perfect example. He was attacking his own race. Those with brown hair was inferior, or something along the lines of that. So it's silly. It's silliness to think, to know that life is that precious and we have to fight to get here, and then you want to throw it all away by somehow ending up in jail or committing suicide in hopes that you'll eradicate a race, but yet that racism would still continue even if that race was destroyed. It's just silly. Just fight and appreciate life. That's what this video is about. So what was I also going to say? Right, so I was going to say, like, a lot of my videos, I've always said to people, like, I think in one of my videos, 2018 something, the end of 2018, I was saying, the making of a good man or the making of a strong man. And a lot of my videos collectively really is trying to build someone that's strong, whether they be male or female. And one of the vital things really is empathy, you know. But um, funny enough, when I was doing counselling, there was one particular counsellor that I sat down and I was telling her about a program that I watched on TV. Now the program went on for 2 days, I think, or over several days, but it was watching children um, and how they interact with other children. And what they discovered was that I can't remember all of it, because this is going back, we're talking about 12 years ago, maybe 11 years ago. But I do remember that there was this little girl that was a twin, and I think when she was born, I think her other twin died at 2, and it really affected her in a big way, a very big way. And then her mum, like 3 years later, then had another child, and she was really overprotective over her younger sister. She made sure that her sister wasn't hurt, and really overprotective. And what they did was, when this child reached about, say, 9 years old, and her sister reached about 4 years old, something along the lines of that, right? So she might have been like 8 years old, and her sister was, say, 5 or whatever. What they did was they got a big piece of cake. They took a small bit out of the cake, and they gave this small bit to the bigger sister, and she ate the cake and she didn't complain. She's like, this is really yummy. And then they gave an even bigger bit, 3 times bigger bit, to the younger sister. And what they wanted to see was what the younger sister would do. And the younger sister ate as much as she could of the cake, and then rather than give it to her bigger sister and say, there you go, let's have this, and the sister, the bigger sister, is watching her eat the cake as well, because she just finished her small bit. She's watching her eat it, and after the younger sister finishes, she then eats as much as she can, and then she goes, right, I want that for later, and she pushes it out the way rather than give it to her bigger sister. And what they said was that the younger sister, who refused to give her older sister another portion of the cake, is more likely to be successful in life. She's a go-getter. She's more likely to fight, or have the instincts, or have the I wouldn't say skills, but I'd say have a plan. What would I use to describe it? Whatever tactics, selfishness, or that kind of guarded, I got to protect myself first mentality, she was more likely to be successful than that of her older sister, who was trying to protect her. She said the older sister will struggle in life. She will struggle. Okay? Now, I'm not just making this thing up. Later on in the show, they then went into things like narcissism, and what they said was, in most jobs, at the head of the job is most likely someone that's most likely to be a narcissistic, someone that isn't afraid to fire their best friend if they have to, someone that isn't afraid to fire someone that they've known for 10 years, and no remorse. They don't go to bed and think, damn man, that was a tough decision. They think, it had to be done, this company needs to survive, so damn, it's done. So they said that most top positions, most leaders, even down to presidents, will have some form of narcissism in them, because they have to make really tough decisions. And this is what I was saying to people about personalities, that you can't really escape. We all fall into a category of a personality, and we all kind of blend into the world in a certain way. Doesn't mean that we all have to get along though, because if a particular type of personality isn't in line with yours, you're running on a different frequency, then the best thing to do is walk away and find someone on your own frequency. And it doesn't necessarily mean that someone's bad because they've walked away, not unless someone's trying to force another person into an unhealthy relationship. Someone's trying to control. Now we can say that person's bad, because why are they forcing a relationship that's not working? Right, I'm going to see you in part 2, guys. Stay with me. It is a positive video, believe it or not. Again, it's about keep fighting, and I'm going to go into more in my next video. Thank you for staying with me. See you around for part 2. Peace.